If you're thinking of starting on YouTube, I have an amazing guest for you. Jarvis just quit his full-time job to go full-time on YouTube. I'm gonna ask him about how he's able to create videos that make $12,000 on average per video, and I'm gonna ask him about this fear of starting on YouTube. So if you're interested, continue watching. Yeah, let me open up that script. Camera's rolling. This is an interview with Jarvis. You posted your first video on YouTube back in 2007?
Yeah, 2006 I think actually.
2006?
Yeah.
1 year old YouTube, right?
Yeah, YouTube was 1 year old. Technically my first video was a video like from a video game. And I started my YouTube account to post videos from that video game, RuneScape, for anyone curious. But I never posted another RuneScape video. And then the next thing I posted was a High School Musical dance video. And that was sometime in like the end of 2006.
If you're watching and you're like, maybe I should start my YouTube channel as well, I'm giving you a magic kick. On July 22nd, we're starting the next 14-day YouTube challenge. In 14 days, I'm gonna tell you how to start a YouTube channel, how to edit videos, how to create amazing thumbnails, how to come up with titles that get clicks, and how to make YouTube your lifestyle. So if you are thinking of YouTube but you're afraid to start, I'm gonna make you start. I will see you soon at my course. I'm giving you an exclusive discount, $20 off my next batch. The link is below. Sign up and I will see you very, very soon. 14-day YouTube challenge with Silicon Valley Girl. What kind of platform was that back in 2006? Do you remember?
Yeah, a lot of it was driven by the YouTube homepage because there weren't a lot of algorithms driving like what bubbled to the top. So YouTube would feature videos and that would mean like it would make YouTube careers overnight. That didn't like mean a whole lot in 2006, but there are a couple of creators who have been, I remember seeing on that page that are like still around. Like Shane Dawson was like very early.
Oh my God.
He's like always on the like bottom row of the YouTube homepage. And then Hank and John Green, Vlogbrothers, that's how I found them, I think, back in 2007. When they were doing like this social experiment where they stopped talking to each other via textual communication and only made vlogs back and forth to one another. It was a weird time, but it was cool. Like it was cool to have accessible streaming video that was like reliable.
Yeah. How many views did you get back then? Do you remember?
You know, the first video was like a couple hundred, which I thought was pretty impressive. But
it is pretty impressive, especially. Yeah.
And the High School Musical video, it got like 50,000 views, I think, in 2007. Yeah. Apparently, you used to be able to see more clearly the referrals on YouTube videos. So I think it got posted on some French blog, and then it got posted a couple of other places back then.
Wow.
And it ended up getting like a bunch of views for 2007. And then I promptly stopped posting because I was afraid.
I think you mentioned that you were afraid of like public failure.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, that video did really well. I need something to top it, and I didn't really know what I was going to do next. I also didn't have ready access to a camera because I was using my friend's, we were using my, a good friend of mine's camera. So it wasn't like I could just like turn on, hit record at home. And I think the next video I posted was 2 years later, and that was actually just a collection of photos set to music, but it looked like a video because it was like an internet meme from 2009. So yeah, it's been a fun journey of like 3 or 4 YouTube videos like 11 years ago, and now here I am.
Yeah, and then you just suddenly started to be serious about YouTube, right?
Right. Well,
like a couple of years ago.
It was July of 2017. I went to VidCon for the first time for work. I used to work at Patreon as a software engineer, and my team went. We were going to a lot of the industry panels, but I was like, I want to also go to the creator panels and see what's up. And I just went to so many kind of YouTube 101, like just getting started things, because I was always curious about posting on YouTube again. It was just really inspiring. I think that all of the things I had in my head about public failure and like who wants to hear what I have to say, there were answers to all of those. And at the end, a VidCon, me and my friend Mayuko were like, let's start our channels.
You started together?
We started together,
It's
yeah.
so cool. I actually filmed her 2 days ago.
Yeah. I think I saw it on her story, but yeah. So we started our channels pretty much as soon as we got back from VidCon. I bought a camera, kind of impulse bought a camera.
What did you
VidCon. Get? Canon T5i.
Like this basic DSLR.
Very basic DSLR
Costco.
for video. yeah. I think I bought it on B&H because somebody gave me the tip about like no sales tax, but other than that, and I also had a Rode Video Mic Go.
$99 or something?
Yeah, exactly. And the sound was awful because there's no like onboard manual like sound settings.
Yeah.
And I just remember filming videos out of focus by accident and just like all of the trials and tribulations. But I had to make my first video back about why I was afraid to make YouTube videos because I couldn't think of anything else to talk about. So I was like, let's start there.
Yeah. Do you remember how many views you got on that video?
I broke 1,000 because I shared it to like every person I've ever met, also Facebook, and was also just like throwing it around everywhere. It was like a lot of elbow grease went into trying to get 1,000 views on that video. But after the videos after that were getting like hundreds, I think, because I wouldn't get 1,000 subscribers for like months later.
Then something happened in 2018, right? You kind of cracked the algorithm.
I had some initial success because Mayuko found some early success with her tech videos.
Life, right?
Her day in the life video did really well. And so I started making tech videos like kind of on and off, alternating talking about software engineering and talking about my experiences and stuff. And through that, I had a steady, reasonable growth where I knew that I could, if I made a tech video, it would do pretty well, but otherwise, every other video that was like creatively different from just talking about tech stuff would completely fail out of the gate. But I scrounged up about 50,000 subscribers.
Just by posting this tech?
Yeah, mostly coming from tech stuff. And other stuff was there, but it wasn't the stuff that was driving the growth. And then in 2018, August, I want to say, at Mayuko's wedding, actually, in San Diego. I was staying in San Diego, and I changed the metadata on one of my old videos, like changed the title of it, because I learned that was a thing that you could do. A few days later, it like got 1 million views over like 2 days, like a 48-hour period, just like sort of out of nowhere.
Do you remember what was the old title and what was the new title?
Yeah, the old title was The Worst Life Hacks I've Ever Seen, which is a title that would like work for me now, but I think that what I changed it to was 5 Minute Crafts is the worst channel on YouTube. I think a combination of the fact that there were some other people who had started talking about the channel that I was talking about, and having that keyword in the title may have jump-started.
The name of a YouTuber?
Oh, the name of, the channel. Like if I went back and looked at the analytics, and you can kind of see that the impressions on that video were starting to rise before I changed the title. It's unclear if the title was the thing that sort of clinched it, or if it was just like happenstance. It was pretty strange. Yeah, it kind of was like an overnight success.
So you changed the title, you wake up in the morning.
It was okay, I changed the title, then I like went to the wedding, and then I think on the way back from the wedding I started to notice like that things were...
Oh, the comments are coming, right?
Well, because I was starting to, I think at the peak of it I got like 44,000 subscribers in one day.
40,000.
Yeah. And then it kind of like that was the peak, and then I think after that I was like, oh, now 30,000, and then eventually back to normal. Over the period of about 4 days, I went from 50,000 subscribers to 200,000 subscribers, and so that was
amazing.
Wild. That was like I remember checking my like waking up that morning being at like 80,000 subscribers or something like that, and being like, wow, we're gonna hit 100,000 subscribers
by
one of
lunch,
these days. No, I had no idea that was happening. So like by lunch, I checked it and it was like at 100K, and I was like, what is happening? Yeah.
Wow.
But
you're very successul now. You have
things have been going
more
well.
Views than the subscribers, right? You get
yeah. So things are growing. Things are growing, and just trying to balance like content strategy with like what I want to make and having fun. And I've been having a lot of fun with like the actual stuff that I've been making, so that's a good sign. And yeah, I have no idea where it goes from here, but that's the exciting part about it. I think if I had the answers, maybe I wouldn't be as interested and wouldn't be as excited about making stuff.
So what would be your top 3 advice for a video that will perform well on your channel?
On my channel?
Yeah, like from your perspective. Like maybe it's the title or thumbnail, whatever.
One thing that's really interesting about YouTube is that you don't really know if it's the content of the video. Maybe it's like not a viral video in terms of its content, or maybe it just needs like a new fresh coat of paint in terms of metadata. Like if I were a person like looking at my YouTube channel, I would look at the videos that I have that are retaining really well. And then
what's a good retention for you?
For
do you
me,
measure it?
I do measure it, but like I guess I look at average view duration, and I usually will get like 10 to 11 average view duration.
In minutes?
In minutes, yeah.
And the average video is like 15?
In the average, I would say the average video is like 18 to
That's
20
really
minutes.
good. It's more than half, right?
Yeah, no, so it's good. And you look at like the retention graph, and as long as you're not seeing any like sharp spikes down. But so nowadays I'll look at something and go, oh, this is getting like a healthy retention, but its click-through rate is really low. So like, let's see how we can like package it to be more appealing.
So you're more technical, right?
Yeah,
you have this technical
I pay a lot of attention to the analytics. But in terms of the idea, in general, what can really work on YouTube is a title is like a magazine headline. Ideally introducing an information gap between you and the viewer that you can only resolve with like going and watching the video. So
can you give an example?
Yeah, like I mean, MrBeast is a great person to give examples from, because his videos are wild. Are you familiar with MrBeast?
No.
So he like will just give away $10,000 to like a homeless person, or to one
like
of his
social
favorite
experiments, or
yeah. And a lot of it's based around giving away money. He got his first brand deal, and then he just gave that away, but filmed it for a video, and then and basically kind of just kept that ball rolling, and now he's given away like millions of dollars, but also he got 13 million subscribers in the last year. And so if you look at each of his videos, they all exhibit this really well. You have a thumbnail and a title that together introduce something like where you say, I want to see what that looks like. So I stayed underwater for 24 hours, or the last person to take their hands off the Lamborghini gets to keep the car. Yeah, real thing.
Nice.
So he like actually it's not a scam. His taxes were wild apparently this year, but
he can write off that Lambo, right?
I actually don't even know how it works specifically, but because someone has to pay the taxes on that when he gives it away. But if you look at any of those videos, there's a very clear feeling of, oh, I wonder what that looks like. So that's one way to introduce the information gap. Another is to like take something that's a current event, or something that's in the zeitgeist, something that people are familiar with, and like make a statement about it. So in the case of the video that I made called 5-Minute Crafts is the worst channel on YouTube, at the time I didn't like believe that it was the worst channel on YouTube. I was being like hyperbolic, and it was a bit of a joke, but there are tons of people who watch that channel, and I think that there's sometimes a hate click where they're like, what do you mean? And then other times there are people who are like, oh, I've seen this around and it annoys me. I'm gonna click this to confirm my, view of the world. So there's like those types of ways to introduce that something to be resolved. And you wanna give the person the irresistible itch to click. And then once you've clicked, then it's your responsibility to like retain them and not like mislead them, etc. But I can't give any specific video ideas. If you do a big stunt and you title it pretty straightforward what the big stunt was, it'll probably do well, but there's a lot of MrBeast copycats out there now, so I don't know.
Cool. And so that video that you mentioned, I think it got over 7 million views, right? Yeah,
and it's like still trickling, like it's just like the gift that keeps on giving. It's like gonna hit 8 million or something soon.
Yeah. Do you think you can make a living off just one video?
Just one video? Probably not. But I am like, there is, I think, value to building series out of stuff like that. Like I'm gonna make, the video I'm working on now is like kind of a trilogy, like it's the third video that's around 5-Minute Crafts, and they've all been dramatically different, the videos that I made about them. This next one is like trying out the hacks with my friends. I've done something like that before, but it's like I always try to get weird with it or compelling, because I don't want to do the same thing over and over and over. Even though it could work, like it could get the views, I want to continue to like grow and do things that are creatively interesting for me. The other benefit that having a video that was really successful on my channel like that is that I can kind of reuse that packaging to appeal to new people. When that video started going viral, if I had never posted any videos that were very similar to it, I wouldn't have benefited as much from its growth, because people would subscribe, but then they would immediately bounce because they'd be like, "What? You're not making videos like the one I subscribed for."
Yeah.
But I was fortunate enough to have the time to do this. When I saw the video was starting to get all these views out of nowhere, I think it had like 400,000 views. I made a video that was sort of in a similar genre to it.
Just to continue this trend,
Yeah,
right?
and so
Nice.
one really that video has like 4 million views now.
Wow.
But what was the wildest thing about it was that its first million or 2 million views were 50% from end cards. Like I've never seen end card conversions like that before, and still haven't, but people would watch one video and then go, "Oh, that's the next one," and then just like keep going.
Yeah.
And then I think that kept sort of elongated the period under which I was like, or experiencing like a lot of growth, because YouTube cares a lot about session length, and if you can keep somebody on the platform for a long time, like that's like super valuable. Yeah. And I've benefited from the fact that a lot of my content is bingeable. So I get messages on Instagram that are like, "I just watched like 10 of your videos," and it speaks to the value of having a backlog that is evergreen. Like people can watch a video that's a year old of mine, and it's not super topical. I have, talked about topical things here and there, but I try to make sure that when I do so, it's in a context that will also last for the long term.
Can you share some numbers, like in terms of what's the maximum amount of dollars you got from one video?
I mean, the 5-minute crafts video is probably the one I made the most from, because it just has the most views. And I think it's like somewhere around 12 grand or something.
12 grand.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But it's like that, sure, that's like great, but it's like doesn't really build a career, right? It's tricky. I think monetization is a really interesting thing, because CPMs and things are always changing. It's very hard for creators to actually predict what their revenue is going to look like.
But you were still able to quit your day job to do YouTube full time.
Yeah, I mean that was sort of a function of sort of buying future stock in myself, and like thinking that I could make it given the time, and then also some financial planning beforehand, where I had paid off my student loans and I was like prepared to be able to live without money from YouTube for a period of time, and that was like my trial period. And now we're like, okay, so I probably can keep going for a while.
Do you do brand deals, or you just rely on
brand deals, AdSense? I have a Patreon, which helps me pay for my health insurance, because now I'm unemployed, technically. And then merch sometimes, like that's not like a big...
Oh, you have this merch option like that's built in YouTube?
Yeah, okay. I have that, and then I'm working on some new merch designs, and I want to try to do things that are like more reactive to things that people resonate with in videos, and maybe having more limited time stuff is less a revenue stream. I'm in growth mode right now, where I'm not super concerned about sort of turning on the hose of like making all the dollars, but I'm able to live, and I want to just put most of my resources into like continuing to grow. That's
great. Cool. And how do you deal with haters? Do you get a lot of them, or?
I think everybody, the way I like to think about it is, given enough people, given a large enough sample size, even if haters are like 0.00001%, you're gonna get them eventually. And so yeah, I definitely have haters.
What percentage of haters?
I'd say it's pretty low. I generally have a very healthy audience, though sometimes, I don't see a lot of the hate comments, because I think they get filtered out when people are like super obscene by YouTube. Like I don't even have like crazy filters or anything set up. I don't tend to see a lot of stuff like that. But usually hate comments that are just, I would say the most common comment I used to get, and I just don't, this is probably still happening, is in my 5-minute crafts video, people would say, "You're actually the worst channel on YouTube." And it's like, all right, cool, you got me.
Thank you.
And then another thing would be like, you're just using them for views, or commenting on this for views. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of why we're all here, like on YouTube. It's like, you're making a YouTube video for views? Shame on you. The other thing is that people think, and this has been like an important topic that I care about, is that sometimes people think that I am bullying these channels, and most of the channels I talk about are like large production companies. I try to illustrate the line between an independent creator and like a corporation, because you can't really bully Coca-Cola, you know? YouTube kind of masks sometimes is there are people, mostly children, who do think that like 5-minute crafts is, instead of being having hundreds of employees and being one piece of like a large, do you know Adme? Like the
it's like a huge production company.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
So like that's the parent company of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like Adme, the sole. I'm like too deep on this stuff. It's like Adme, the sole publishing, and then like 5-minute crafts and Brightside and like all these things. And they have hundreds of channels, hundreds of plaques. It's like giant operation. And then some people think it's just like a person who cares a lot about crafts. And I'm like, not quite. But then other than that, the other haters I have are people who are really upset that I don't make software engineering content as much as I used to. And it's partly because I needed some distance from the tech industry, because I like left and I realized I was pretty burnt out.
Yeah.
When I was initially making tech content, I really didn't want to be working my 9-to-5 tech job and then going home and like doing tech stuff for my creative outlet. Just didn't feel fun. And there's a lot of people who really liked that stuff and want me to be doing that stuff more, but it's just like not where my heart is. So I feel bad sometimes, but you've got to, you know, put yourself and your own like health and well-being first. You know?
Yeah,
I can't force myself to do something that I don't want to do.
I think that's the main rule for like everything that you do in life. Don't force yourself.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I want to just make stuff with my friends and with a community and be a part of a community and laugh and be goofy and you know, teach people things sometimes. I am not hyper motivated by money or anything like that. It's like a means to an end. Because
what are you motivated by? Dopamine that you're getting?
I think community, and then my own strive to be good at my craft. I've been fortunate enough to meet so many rich people in Silicon Valley that like it's just like completely disillusioned with like having billions of dollars, because like that sounds like a chore to deal with. Dustin Moskovitz, you can go give away all your money and spend all your time doing that and help the world because you have a moral obligation to do so. I'm just gonna make dumb jokes on the internet because no one expects me to be dedicating my life to philanthropy.
Another question: do you get recognized by people already? Because over 700,000.
Yeah.
Like walking the streets and people taking pictures.
Yeah, I'd say once a week if I leave my apartment. Sometimes I don't. It's very easy to just like.
Do they just come up to you?
Like, oh yeah, like I would say that. Or last time I was like on the sidewalk for a while, someone tapped me on the back. And it scared me because I was like, and I was like holding my coffee and I was like, and they're like, oh my God, I'm a big fan. And I was like, cool. Like I was just like kind of immediately into fight or flight mode. Am I like being mugged? What's happening? So the tip that I wanted to give is don't approach anyone from behind. It's cool to see people come up to me. One time I walked out of my apartment and a little kid and his mom were walking by, and his mom was like, "You're his favorite YouTuber," and I was like, wow. And so we took a photo, and then that sort of hit me that like, oh, I have kids. This kid was totally under 13, by the way. So when YouTube says that you have to be 13 and up to be on the platform, not
it doesn't
true.
work. Can you describe your work process? How does it look in your video?
It starts with ideas, and like I have a long list of ideas that need vetting, need some sort of vetting.
And by vetting, you mean Googling them and seeing who's done that before and how it performed?
If it's talking about something or some sort of content, it's like going and consuming that, seeing if I have an angle, seeing if I have something to say. And if it's not, then marinating on the topic itself and seeing if I have something to say. Like for more personal vlog stuff, I'll like go to a coffee shop and like have a topic and then just like free write and see if I like come up with any thoughts that feel valuable to include, and see if I have like enough juice for a video. And for videos that are the commentary style that I've been doing the most recently, it's going and watching a bunch of content or downloading a bunch of videos, watching them at 2x, trying to see like if there's anything here. And then I start to like put that into a doc, and I'm all over the spectrum in terms of tools, where I'm currently using a lot of Dropbox paper, but I'm also flirting with Notion, which is a cool app. But usually what it looks like is I'll start a doc in Dropbox paper and start dumping my research into it. Oh, I need to talk about this. Oh, like what's my angle for this? And then I start scripting as well. But the doc typically starts before the script is written. I'm gonna talk about this topic. What are some like titles? And I write like 20 titles or something. And then it's like, what's the thumbnail gonna look like? I usually like describe something in text.
Oh, you did that before?
Yeah, because for example, I wanna make sure that if there's something super appealing for a thumbnail. Like, I would say clickbait, but not clickbait because it's gonna be included in the video. I will sometimes include content just so that it can be in the thumbnail.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that's really visually appealing, or that's a great way to encapsulate this idea in very few elements on the screen. Because you look at thumbnails and you want them to like flow and be like, I get it, I understand, and you're making that split-second decision of like, does that spark your curiosity or not? So I'm always looking for like, I like to think about that stuff as early as possible. You know, when you have those thoughts that are, I like to think of them as like bread in the oven or something, where you're just like going about your day and it's like, oh, like bread's done, what about this idea? And then you like write it down. So I like to sort of put those in the oven as soon as possible. And I'm also thinking about the 3-act structure of the video, because like that kind of structure is important for retaining people. You want it to like go somewhere. And that's also like, similarly to how you introduce this need for resolution when they click, you also want to introduce that need for resolution throughout the video so that they like don't get.
So they're expecting something, right?
Yeah, it's like how much is a dumb video idea, but well, if you were like, what happens when I press this red button? Is like the thumbnail, and it's like, oh, scary red button, and then at the beginning of the video you press the button and it's like, ta-da,
that's it.
and then it's like you're gonna see like a fall off, right?
Yeah.
And you've got to. It's like your job to retain that person, so you want to like resolve with the button. Maybe it's not at the very end, maybe it's in like the end of Act 2 or something, but you also want to make sure you earn that journey, because you don't want to be strung along as a viewer, because that's going to just like draw ire with your viewer. So it's a balancing act. So I'm trying to think about structure, and then and making sure to change things up so that it's not just like static me on like in my room for too long. A complete script, I'll like write 2,000 to like 4,000 words.
How long does it take?
Couple hours. I don't do a lot of like second drafts, third drafts, unless it's like complete rewrites, because it just doesn't feel worth it, like bang for the buck. But what I'll usually do is nowadays my process is I'll schedule a meeting with my friend, we'll like run through the script, I'll like perform it, and we'll like see what works, what doesn't, things to move around, things I'm sort of creative problems I'm struggling with. Like with jokes, you get into that a lot, because there's like a formula. It's like, oh, I want to make the joke where the punchline is this, but I'm not sure how to get from point A to point B. And it's like, well, what if you did like A, B, C? And it's like, oh yeah, that could work. And then you kind of just like play off of each other for that.
And then filming? And
then filming, make my shot list if it's a video that requires one, and then go about filming things. Like a lot of times I'll write sketches, so like those require a shot list in ordering, and I have to make sure that I care about continuity. I don't know if anyone notices, but like sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't shave because I haven't shot the thing or this, or if I wanted
I've seen a guy who made a video with like long hair, and then he had his hair cut, and then he just continued with short hair. And that went viral just because
that's
it
funny.
looks so stupid.
I've definitely thought like ahead of time how to shoot the things in the order to where that it works, and that's fun. So then I get that, and then I shoot the stuff, and it's usually like if I'm at my desk, then it's like me with my script to my right and like looking at a line and then saying, like sort of memorizing that line enough to cut, because YouTube you have a lot of freedom with like cuts.
Oh yeah, you can cut.
So I just like make sure I have like a big chunk of an idea, and then I like go at the camera, and then when I feel good about that, I like move on to the next thing. And then I end up usually recording for too long, recording too many takes of too many lines, because I'm a perfectionist, but also there's no one there to stop me from my worst, my worst inclinations. And then I drag like my 2 hours of footage of me doing line takes for a 15-minute video, and then I chop that up. It's the worst. Like
editing, right?
It's like editing takes a while, but it's more like I wish I didn't need that much footage for that. And I'm pretty proud of my like editing workflow. Very like keyboard shortcut savvy.
So how long does it take to produce one video?
Like 20 to 30 hours. But I am
you do
a
once
crazy
a week,
person.
right?
I would say that I want to be once a week. Right now, I'm more like once every 1.5 to 2 weeks.
It's just fine.
It's fine, and I think that like I don't feel a lot of pressure to have a regular schedule. One, because I haven't promised that, and two, because I've personally experienced that like I can go, it had been 2 weeks since I'd posted my last video, and then I posted my new video, and it's like my fastest growing video of
one of your recent videos,
yeah.
like 1.3 million. That's amazing.
Well, like, and then the video that I just put out is like sort of, I mean, fingers crossed, but it like might break my like sort of million view record, which is, you know, there's so many people who are so much more popular than me on YouTube, but I'm like keeping my like little PR, my personal PRs.
Awesome.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I have my last question.
Sure.
In 2 years, how do you see yourself?
I think that like my YouTube channel as it is today will exist in a similar capacity. I will probably be doing things in addition to YouTube with at least half of my energy, I think. Like when my podcast comes back, I'm really excited about that.
So you would do podcasts?
I'll have my podcast going, hoping to like work on bigger projects, like in terms of video stuff. I don't know, like I'm kind of following my curiosity right now. So I can't really say. I know I have at least 2 years in me of doing YouTube full time. So I'll be doing something creative. Yeah, hopefully making stuff still.
Yeah.
Other than that.
Do you see yourself like owning a media company or like a production company?
I can see it. There's a lot of problems that I've run into just in the short time that I've been doing YouTube or being in any sort of creative space, where I'm like, wow, like we really need some more people working on these things and people who are closer to those problems. Like, you know, Patreon, I used to work at Patreon, but like it was founded by a creator who had like experienced all these problems and wanted to at least start solving one of them. I don't truly have any interest in starting a company for the sake of it, or starting a production company or starting any sort of big organization for any reason other than to like solve a problem I'm passionate about, and which boils down to making stuff with friends. So I can see it, and I have a unique sort of set of skills, I like to think, in terms of like having worked in industry and like seeing how the sausage is made, but also like doing the other side. But I'm like, maybe in 10 years, maybe, you know, much later, sort of bookmark that. Right now I kind of just want to have fun and enjoy the process.
Amazing.
And kind of make a name for myself in this community because I'm still so new to the scene.
But you already have great results. Congrats on
thank
that.
you. I appreciate that.
Could you give last advice to people who are starting on YouTube in 2019?
Oh yeah, don't believe anybody who says that it's too late to start on YouTube in 2019. It is absolutely not too late. Make stuff that's fun for you. Make it however frequently you want to make it, or however frequently is like sustainable for you to make it. Pay attention to your analytics and try to learn what the numbers mean and why you're seeing what you're seeing, and experiment. Never be afraid to experiment. I think there's nothing more, this is kind of a Mark Zuckerberg quote actually, so I gotta be careful. No, I'm just kidding. But there's nothing more certain, like you're certain to fail if you never change. Like that's kind of the point. And I think there are a lot of people who are like clinging to their jewels sometimes with YouTube, where it's like, but I need to do everything the way I've always been doing it. And that's natural because we exist on this platform where so many things are constantly changing that you just don't know the answer. So you're like, I guess I'll just go with the information that I have. But sometimes you've just got to completely like blow up all the best practices and stuff. Like I don't post at a dedicated time. I don't have consistent branding or any of the things that I'm supposed to have. What is my channel about? I don't know. It's like, it's about different things at different times. It's like, did I niche down a little bit? There's all these like best practices things that you're supposed to do. And I feel like I like half-assed almost all of them / didn't do any of them, and things were fine. So take all of that advice with a grain of salt and just make sure you're having fun.
Yeah, I really like the last line, like make sure you're having fun and enjoying whatever you do in life.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Jarvis.
for sure.
Fingers crossed for your success.
Yeah, I'll be okay.
Congrats.
I'll be okay.